Welcome, welcome to my show, Lest We Forget. And today's all about DEERHUNTER. DEERHUNTER is a hot Atlanta rock band formed in 2001 with Brad Cox on vocals, guitars, and keyboards, Moses Archuleta on drums and electronics, Lockett Punt on guitar, vocals, and keyboards, Josh McKay on synthesizer and saxophone. Cox and Archuleta were the founders, and I know these guys are good, but I'm sure they are pro-LGBT, right? That said, I'm not going to tell you the name of their debut album, even though I know that they're just throwing it back at people for having thrown it up at them. It's still over the line, guys. So, in 2005, their bass player had died in a skateboard accident, and Josh Fover was the new guy. I rode skateboards when I was like 12. They weren't like they are today. They weren't bendy. The wheels weren't really that loose or slippery, or people didn't do stunts. They just rode them down the hill. And if you fall off, it hurts a little. We didn't wear helmets or anything like that. It was fun. But today skateboarding is totally different. People are getting killed. Anyhow, the DEERHUNTER's follow-up album, Cryptograms, in 27. The follow-up of the follow-up was an EP, Fluorescent Gray. I'd probably buy this just for the name alone. 2 more studio albums, Microcastle and Weird Era, continued. Count. I haven't mentioned Colin Mee. He's an on-again, off-again member who had problems with touring. So far, that's all I know, except he wasn't on the last 2 albums. He played guitar on Cryptograms and the first album. The title of the first album is Turn It Up! Expletive, which was yelled at the band during an early show. So it's not about the band disparaging anyone. But it's still a little over the line, don't you think? Come on. Ouch. In 2010, Halcyon Digest got very good reviews, but Josh Fover left, placing the band's future in doubt. Cox and Punt and Archuleta regrouped with bassist Josh McKay and guitarist Frank Broyles. The next album was seen as a primitivist garage rock and musique concrete, which is the use of recorded sounds as raw material. It was named Monomania and was released in 2013. Recordings of Rats and Insects. Themes were disassociation and mental illness. In 2014, Cox was struck by a vehicle while walking his dog near his home. During his recovery, he wrote the songs that would result in the next album, which was Fading Frontier in 2015. Not for nothing, Cox says, he has always hated the name DEERHUNTER. Just, once you go with something, it kind of takes on a life of its own, doesn't it? Got to choose carefully at the beginning. The point of purchase, Think about it. You want to be known as that for the next 5 years? You're going to get older. You're going to get wiser. So think about it. Come up with a name that you will like in 5 years. Probably everybody else will too. So when they recorded the Microcastle, Cox booked an evening in the studio and recorded what would become the On Platz IOT cassette, copied on an orange cassette. Well, the cassette wasn't orange. Well, actually, the cassette was orange. The tape inside was not. It was, that funny reddish, brownish color that most tapes are. But the cassette is actually the holder of the tape, right? So I can say the cassette was orange. And these were recorded to be available at the Halloween concert in Atlanta. I get that. So you got the orange cassette with the black text. So you get orange and black. That's like Halloween colors. Easy. But this is not that important to the history of Deerhunter. But I like the image of it. Orange cassettes with black graphics, Halloween, maybe some candy, dressing up in costumes, Rocky Horror or whatever. Whitney Petty left the band amicably. If you're going to leave a band, I recommend you do it amicably. Seen enough unamicable exits. Touring for the Rainwater Cassette Exchange, promoting Microcastle with No Age and Dan Deacon on the bill. The tour was referred to as the No DEERHUNTER Tour. Deerhunter went on hiatus right after, and Cox continued with Atlas Sound and released a solo album, Logos. Favre worked on his record label, Army of Bad Luck, Archuleta, enrolled in culinary school. Punt played out to promote his solo album, The Floodlight Collective. The seventh album, Fading Frontier, featured alto sax player Zumi Rossau, and Deerhunter dedicated a video to Miles Davis, and it got really great reviews for both. In 2018, cassette-only Double Dream of Spring. What is it with this band and cassettes? It's not the 70s. We want vinyl. Deerhunter's eighth album, Why Hasn't Everything Already Disappeared, was released in 2019. The title is a reference to the posthumously published book of the same name by a French philosopher who spends his entire career predicting the disappearance of culture, and then on his deathbed realizes that it hasn't happened. It really does sound like something Al Gore would say. Deathbed or not, it's 2020. It hasn't happened. What Gore said was going to happen, it hasn't happened. Is it going to happen in the next 20 years? Probably not. Will it happen in the next 100 years? Who knows? It's a long time from now. But he said in 2020 that the polar bears would be wading around in the ice water and getting their little feet cold and dying because there were no more seals to eat or something. The polar bears are still up there, and they're still thriving, they're still fine, and if you hear anything other than that from the media, you know they're lying to you. They're giving you propaganda. Yeah, a lot of ice has melted, but the polar bears are fine. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you. Bless you. That's not a polar bear. It's my cat who looks like a polar bear. And he's fine. He's just got a little cold. Nothing to worry about. Death in Midsummer. Well, I don't know what to call this. I like it, but is it Americana? No one's sleeping. Well, could do without this one. Let's go back to Fluorescent Gray. Patiently, I called out your name. Why do I like Fluorescent Gray? Because there's no such thing. It's a concept from a different place, not our world. Thank you for being with me on Lest We Forget. It's a pretty good band, but they don't even like their own name. Why not just change it to something? How about Eddie and the Cruisers?